Well, so you guys endure. This talk is Beyond the AI's hype. That's me, still young. Quick story. Well, for the guys that were here in my Uber talk, you know that I'm a pilot. So at some point in my life, I was like, hey, business is good, life is good, everything's good, like the business is thriving, everything is perfect. This airline from Asia just called me, they say they love me, they say my English is good, so that got me scared for the flying public. But besides that, I went to my wife and I was like, honey, I think this is the time where, I switch careers and, let the business thrive. I want to go to the airlines for no particular reason because it's just a passion. It doesn't make any financial sense, but I don't care. So right around that time, my buddy came. And by the way, my buddy used to be a team leader for a company that Meta then bought for $14 billion. So my buddy is a great guy. I tend to surround myself with smarter guys. And he goes like, hey, Nick, I'm starting my own business. Do you want to see what I'm working on? I'm like, sure, show me the magic. So I get into this 1 hour call with the guy. And after the call, I woe to my wife and I'm like, honey, I think this is the worst time in my life to change careers. I think I'm never changing careers. I'm going to just stick with this. And the reason is he showed me a bunch of things, but mainly the three things that I'm going to be showing you today. And so what are we really using AI in my company for? And this is what I want to show you. By the way, there's a washing machine right there because I have to endure in my day-to-day life when, somebody comes to my office and they say, hey, Nick, I got this great, awesome, amazing idea for this agentic LLM first ready, calculator app. And I'm like, why do you need, an agentic whatever for your calculator app? Actually, when I went to Florida for Mid-Magento, I was crashing in my friend's house before going to Mid-Magento, New York. And the guy went, hey, Nick, I know you're going to be giving this AI talk soon. Do you want me to AI wash your clothes? And I'm like, no. Okay, no, how do you wash? No, I just want you to wash my clothes. And the guy goes, well, you can't because AWS servers are down. Welcome to the future, Nick. All right, okay, all right. So my point is not everything needs to be AI. So these are the three key ideas that I want to talk about today. And I'll try to make it short and sweet. I suppose most of you know what agents are, but basically an agent is an AI that instead of just replying to you, does something. So maybe it goes to your site, finds a bug, and then fires up an alert in Slack or whatever. Does another thing. So it interacts with you. And then a knowledge base, it's a structured collection of data that can be FAQs, your company documents, like a collection of structured data that you feed into the AI structure, so your agents can work. So what we're working on is this knowledge to agents interfaces. Sorry. So in the left here you will see an example of what a knowledge base looks like. This thing right here, it's an internal panel I built for my company. It's kind of like a Power BI, if you will, but Power Up specifically for my company. So it understands what a client means to me, what a customer means to me, what, salaries means to me, what team sells, everything that composes my company. These things understands because it's got a ton of documents explaining how my company works, right? So here on the left, you have those kinds of documents right there. And on the right, what you can see is how we are actually using those documents, this knowledge to agent interface. So I'm sorry, this is in Spanish because this is actually in production, but what I'm doing right there is I'm asking, hey, how many hours did these employees work at a given time? And it's giving you both a response in a prompt output and then in a graph, right? And then I'm asking like, hey, specifically, how many hours did Tommy work in this specific time frame? And it's modifying the query and it's modifying the graph and it's giving me this output right there that I can use to say, okay, awesome. So Tommy worked 8 hours per day for this, this week, that other week, and then, something happened. I think I'm going to be speaking with Tommy really soon. So this allowed me to create this system where I can just tell non-technical people from the company, hey, like from different parts of the company. It could be human resources, operations, legal, accountability, anyone that has access to this can go ahead and type to a prompt-like interface. Hey, I want to know, I don't know, in this case, I'm pulling information from New Relic and I'm getting information about the performance of several of our clients. So this was actually created not via direct SQL or, creating a graph like you would on Power BI, but directly by asking, hey, I need to know this information. And is specifically tailored to understand how these different parameters interact with my organization. So I'm not going to get into like the extremely long technical details of how this works, but I just want you to know this is not a ChatGPT wrapper. That's all I want to say. It's a prompt agent and it has loops. It iterates over itself, so it's a pretty neat infrastructure. This thing right here is another example of how we are using internally the tool in our agency. We have like probably 70, 80 clients. So keeping performance or understanding performance for all of the clients is not always that easy. And furthermore, we have like technical people and non-technical people on the team. So what this thing is doing is it's going to each client's New Relic account, it's pulling information, then it's processing it through a knowledge base, and that knowledge base interprets like 200 gauges, but it interprets it like I would. And then it gets back with a feedback. Well, you can see the green numbers there, and client A, I should pay attention to that. But it comes back with a feedback like this. If you know Spanish, that's awesome. If you don't, well, it says everything is great. All the clients are fantastic. But this interface right here is specifically tailored for the non-technical guys in the team. So we may have situations like, for instance, I don't know, the clients are consuming too much bandwidth, right? And from a technical perspective, you might say, hey, the performance of the site is perfect, right? So it's no problem that it's consuming a lot of bandwidth. Well, there's, in Adobe Commerce sites at least, there's a limit of how much bandwidth you can use per license. So that's not something that my technical team deals with, but it's something that my financial team deals with. So it's important for them to get an understanding on how the clients are at a given moment in time, but I'm not going to give the financial team just access to a panel which they won't understand. I'm just pulling information and showing information to the different sectors of the company and showing them the information they need in a way they can understand it. And in this case, it's like text because I'm not going to, show the finance team, all the New Relic graph. They're not going to understand them. We have, if you guys came to the other talk, the Uber talk, this is a module we created that it's actually, it's not meant for Uber specifically, but in this case, it's working with flows of the Uber application. So, for example, we have waypoints, right, in the Uber application. So you may have 20 waypoints, but in reality you have 40 locations. And this is something that I would go and look at the clients panel and say, hey, you got 40 locations, 20 loaded into the panel. Why don't you load the other 20? You're losing all of this money because you're not delivering with this mechanism, which we proved that it works. So instead of me going into each one of the clients or my team members going into each one of the clients, we have routines going in there that you can just write, and the guy will go, check, and advise the customer or my team. This is a really cool one. We have done, this is a system we created that actually can connect to any one of our clients and run routines, but complex routines. In this case, it's running to this Impronto site, and it's doing a WCAG, American with Disabilities Act, scan on this website, and it's giving me a report. By the way, isn't there the video? I thought there was a video in here. The guys on the technical side, they told me I needed to laser lock, like really passionate, every time I wanted a video. Okay, so this is an example, right? So I gave the prompt to this system. I actually said, hey, make this report, and this is going to run for every one of our clients. As we believe in self-criticism, this is a report I'm doing on my own website. And I said, hey, build a report, be ruthless with the designer. So after it made the report to the designer, it said, that's another video. It sent a report to the designer saying, hey, dude, like you made, you uploaded like a 4 or 5 megabytes PNG uncompressed image into our Impronto's website. Do you have any idea of how this makes us look? Do you have any idea of like the impact this is having on the business? And the guy was like terrified, right? And he was like really, really bad. This was actually the prompt, and this is the thing that came out of it, right? The video you just watched, and it was really funny. I mean, yeah, it found like a 3.7 megabytes image, and I was like, hey, this is hilarious. And then the head of human resources, sat down with me, and she was like, hey, the guy is really upset about this. This is not funny. I think it's hilarious, but other than the guy being bad, this is amazing technology, because instead of me like going into each one of the sites every time I want to discover if I get a problem, I just set up these routines, and this guy is actually going into the site, navigating, finding the problems, making the reports, and advising my team. This is another client, and this is a really cool one. I'm passionately laser locking with the tech guy. Passion. There. Okay. So there. If you see, it's entering the page. It's adding products. See here? It's adding products to the checking cart. It's filling out the checkout. It's filling out with like funny information, but it's filling out with information. See, there it says selecting M size for t-shirt, adding cart button, clicking on finalize your purchase, blah, 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 task completed. So all steps finished, right? So, thanks. And what that does is it actually goes to the site, navigates, and checks for every value or every input that I tell the thing. And look at that prompt. That's the prompt that generated the video you just saw. It's a prompt like this big. It's like a 2-liner, and it's crazy. It's going to the site. It's actually checking on the stuff. It's adding products, and there you see the checkout is actually it's actually filled. I can actually say to this thing, hey, Please check if the, I don't know, shipping methods are available. Please tell me if Uber is showing up or is not showing up. Hey, please tell me if the prices make sense or not. So it really depends on, not on the development part, but rather on, hey, this is what I want to see and this is what I don't want to see, and these are the routines that we're going to be running in order to check that this is functioning. One other way that I'm using this is I am using New Relic, and when I have a problem, let's say that a client has an abnormal buying flow. So let's say the client hasn't received a purchase in like 2 days, 2 hours, then this thing would fire up an API request. This will navigate and it will complete every step on the checkout, and if it finds a problem at any step in the checkout, it will fire up an alarm. And it prevents like the alarm fatigue, meaning I could do this by hand, but like at the third or fourth time that one of the guys goes and says, hey, I was able to add a product to the cart and it worked, and it will create this fatigue status. But I can tell the AI to keep adding products every day or all day, all the time, every time I have an emergency, and if there's a real emergency, I will get an alert. There was one last video, I think, before this thing. That thing. I actually, I showed this to one of our senior programmers, and the guy was like, whoa, Nick, this is amazing. After almost 10 years working in Magento, you managed to create a catalog rule. You're really onto something. And I'm like, okay. I bought that on myself, but I actually had to fire up a graphical user interface. You can't see it on the top, but it says something like, this is development, whatever. This is a graphical user interface. I'm not touching anything. I just use the system that I showed you before, and this is what the system is doing. It's entering into the administration panel, and it's generating the promotion for me. There you go. That's the catalog discount. That's absolutely automatic. Okay, so last slide. This is taken from really serious surveys I made, and those are the results. But now, like with all honesty, well, I'm not going really in depth into this subject because we had some great technical speakers that spoke about vibe coding and stuff. But the thing is, or at least what I found, this is a great, amazing tool for, basically everything you saw until this point was 98% done with vibe coding. But at least this is what I found. The more senior technical guys, they have like a really big adoption barrier into vibe coding. And then the very junior guys, they take this as if it was a religion, and they don't go really into depth like we did when we were studying programming. So that's really, really, really unfortunate, at least in my view, because like this thing is amazing, but it also generates like a ton of, So I have 2 folders on my desktop. One is called AI Amazing and AI Terrible. I'm very original. So every time I see that this thing does something amazing, I go ahead and take a snapshot and put it there. And the amazing part, this is, I don't know, this is a knowledge base of my flights. And then I prompted, hey, did I ever have an emergency, in flight? And it gives you like all of the information about my flights and stuff. And right here on the top right, it says number of tasks with status reabierto in the last 7 days. So reopen tasks in the last 7 days. This is amazing, like to be able to build these interfaces at blazing fast speeds. This is awesome. But then there's the other part. Oh, this one right here. This actually happened to me. And I know I shouldn't reply like it's a real human being, but in the first case, it's trying to replace or delete my database. My response is, of course not, are you crazy? But the thing is, it asks you all of these things like with such confidence, right? It's like, hey, I'm going to be deleting all of your data. What about it? And I'm like, no, you're not. And then in the second prompt right here, you have fantastic. The only problem is you deleted my database again. And it's funny. Sometimes it's like talking with one of my ex-girlfriends, right? Because it's like, I know I shouldn't have done that. Trust me. You said, some girlfriends told me this. You set cursor rules that I didn't pay attention to them, and I deleted your database. I won't do it again. Of course, it does it again. But the third one is, then that one's amazing. It says it with such confidence. It's, okay, this works, it's great. Now let's also make sure this directory is writable. And I'm like, whoa, wait, that's like the client's directory. So you're basically allowing anybody and everybody to write on that public directory. So it's directly pushing like a security vector, like a really serious security vector. So my point is, like this tool is amazing, but like I'm having a really hard time like trying to push this in a reasonable and secure way, because if you handle these tools to your junior developers, they are, well, first of all, they're going to be replaced by this, but assuming they are not, it's actually quite dangerous. So I mean, the majority of the companies I've seen, large and small, are taking weird approaches to AI. My wife used to work for a big firm, really big firm. They had a town hall with, hundreds of people, and they said something along the lines of, guys, we're gonna be replacing all of your jobs with AI. You should be happy. Now, who's up for some karaoke? Yeah! And I'm like, are you guys serious? And this is a really big and serious company. My wife, left that company. But I mean, I'm seeing this trend where companies are looking at things like I showed you, and they're like, okay, so this is gonna be absolutely replacing people. So let's start replacing people right now. Just it's just my thoughts, but I don't know if you know this. Michael Saylor has just put a giant bet against NVIDIA. So I'm not saying don't get on this train. I'm just saying be responsible and have realistic expectations of what we can do with this technology. Just one quick last story. This tool is called UX Pilot. Great tool. They are not sponsoring me. They should. What we are doing with this, actually, I was looking at data with the same system I showed you in the earlier slides, and I was like, hey, our designers are taking 2 weeks to finish this process. I don't like this, so we're going to be changing this process. And I put this program on, I paid for the subscription, whatever, and I built basically a skeleton of what I think the design of an Adobe Commerce / Magento store should look like, right? So basically, we shrink this process from 2 weeks to 2 hours. And what do you think? The client like these designs more or less? They like them more. So the designer, right, is looking at me, with a big, sweat running down his face, and he's like, okay, so I'm gonna get fired. And I'm like, no, you're not gonna get fired. It's just that we need to use this technology to be better, be more productive, and we have to use this type of technology to be tremendously efficient, right? So my understanding is this is the way these technologies should be used. It's not what I'm seeing in my day-to-day. Actually, one of my partners said, "Okay, so this is working great. How many designers can we fire right now?" And I'm like, "No, we're not going to fire anybody. It's just that we're going to be, delivering much more and much better to the customer. That's it. And as we progress with this technology, we'll be seeing how this works. But I'm not ready to be, laying off all of this stuff right now." So with the promise that I won't sue anybody, especially the gentleman right here, any questions? It's a traded secret. No, it's a bit complicated. I'm trying to work a concept with the guys at JetRails. You know the guys at JetRails. So basically, I'm trying to do something I call Cursor as a service. So you saw Cursor in the other presentations. What I'm doing here is pushing this infrastructure, if you will, this software, into the cloud. And as I'm pushing this infrastructure into the cloud, I'm putting the commands I want the thing to process. It's like a remote programmer. It's like a remote version of me, and so it's not a direct call to an API, but rather it's like imitating me as a programmer, if you will. So it's using the development interface to do this kind of job. And then I have what's called an MCP server, which is I'm directly connecting to a Google Chrome interface, right? So I'm telling Chrome, hey, navigate to this site, go there, go back, and then open the developer console and tell me like the CLS. IMP, all the, give me the web vitals. Well, it does that because it has actually access to that web console. It's a work in progress, but even in this beta stage, I'm able to run routines, and the real limitation is, and this is why I'm telling, hey, I'm not firing anybody. What I want from people is like, okay, so you're a designer, right? Okay. So you're not spending 2 weeks doing whatever it is you were doing. But now you have this tool. So what I want you to do is go and make these routines and tell me if, the site doesn't look the way you want it or the font isn't, because it can do that. It can actually say, hey, this font should be, I don't know, serif or whatever. And it's not. Well, your time could be better spent doing that kind of work and automatizing it for our client base instead of doing Figma over and over and over and over.
Okay, you show some prompts for design and also for back-end work. What about some prompts for programming, for create a module or something like this? Is possible, or do you think that it's not possible?
No, it's absolutely possible, but I mean, it's something that we want to do, but at the like the state of the art that we're checking is, I still need a developer to go and check the code. So the current prototype we have is you go into an interface quite similar to this one, and you say, hey, I want to modify this thing and moving it to this part, or I want my Uber module to have this option or this thing, whatever. It does it, but it doesn't push anything even to station. It goes to a pre-prod environment where a TL or a senior developer goes, sees the code, and says, this makes some sort of sense, or it's trying to delete my database again. So I don't feel like it's at that point yet where I can just say, yeah, just take controls, and it's not an autopilot yet. By the way, you're in Argentina, so if I want to sue you, it's easier for me.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you'll put it for free once it's done, right? Like you did.
Marcia, you're asking me not to sue people, but they're pushing boundaries. You're pushing boundaries.
Thank you, Nick. That was nice. Secondly, you said not firing designers.
Yes.
But tools like this, let's say your competitor, my competitor, are using these tools
Yes.
to design and develop real quickly, and they're giving real good prices to the end customers.
Mhm.
How do you compete?
That's the question.
That is the question.
Yeah, that's the question. But let me tell you something. This is my standpoint, and I know I'm always talking about planes, but the way I'm thinking about this is, so you have your Sirius CR22, $5 million jet, right? It's like not an entry level, but it's a normal jet, right? It has this button right on the top that you can press when your pilot dies, right? And these screens will go white and it will say something like, be calm, everything is cool. I'm contacting air traffic control. I'm calculating the best airstrip, depending on winds, depending on, whatever. And the guy will put down the flaps, will reduce the power, reduce the mixture, put down the gear, brake on the landing strip, and then turn down the engine, and it will open the door. And actually, in this serious video, there's like a woman, there's like the dead husband or something, and the woman is like walking on the airstrip, like really happy and like, oh, yeah, I'm alive. So I'm looking at this situation and I'm thinking, okay, so what's my added value as a pilot? There's no value. What's the value? And so I spoke with a bunch of guys, and they were telling me like, hey, like look, the Boeing 777 is going right now out of the factory in Everett, and it doesn't have a dual pilot or a single pilot system in place. So for the next 30 years, you're going to be useful. But there's another thing, which is you have to go back to, I don't know, Europe right now. Are you going, like, you need to go to the airport right now, Toronto airport now, and you need to fly. Are you going to cross the ocean knowing that you don't have a pilot? No, the answer is no. No one would. I wouldn't. I mean, I know that there's a useless guy in the front of the aircraft, that's me, but he's reassuring the passengers, and that has value. And my point with this long story is, I mean, that has value. So you need to understand where are you adding value. I don't care if it's something that's just reassuring me mentally. It's okay. But just understand where you are adding value, because the places where you're adding value right now are obviously going to change. So it's not like I can go through every part of a company and say, hey, this is where you're going to be adding value. But I can tell you, hey, you need to do this mental exercise of knowing and understanding that this is dynamic, it's going to change, and you need to understand where are you adding value. Even if it is sitting, on the front of an airplane doing nothing and, watching Netflix. But if that has value, that has value.